Hello out there. My name is Kate White, and I'm here with my colleague Lois Trezeis, certified nurse midwife and co-creator of the Integrated Prenatal and Perinatal Dynamics program. And what we'd like to do today is just talk to you a little bit about our Module 1. Is there anything you'd like to start with, Lois?
Well, I love midwifery, and I have been a midwife for a long time, ever since I began school in 1973, and I obtained my license in 1978, and I'm still going now, and I'm almost 76. So I've always felt it's a wonderful calling and a great privilege to be able to be working with families who are expecting a baby and to be able to support them and their baby through the experience. And my work with Kate is just an extension of that.
Yeah. Well, together we have created a program for professionals, and it's a one-year program. It's 6 modules, and there are 3 days in each module. And our first module is really about addressing preconception and conception dynamics. And we start by having people just come in to our surround and just feel welcome and understand that our practice is a safe haven. In fact, Lois calls it the gracious space. What would you like to say about that, Lois?
Yeah, the gracious space was a concept that was created by a group a few years ago, and it was adapted by a hospital, a birthing center that's about 30 minutes away from us. And I love that they named it such and identified the hallmarks of care that was the gracious space. And so they made sure that everyone who was providing care in their institution, in their birthing center, was aware of these concepts and was supportive of them. And so it has to do with, as I often say, for one thing, starts with the quality of welcome, that you are really welcome, whoever you are and however you are and whatever your needs are. And that even starts with how we answer the telephone and what the waiting room is like, how welcoming is it, and what imagery is in there, what is the artwork, the plants, the furniture, toys for babies, all kinds of things that say, we love what we do and you're safe and you're welcome here and we want to get to know you. And so it's that kind of open-armed reception that is also balanced with training and professional training and experience and commitment that our care respects your wishes and also helps to try to ensure that it's a healthy birthing person and a healthy baby.
Well, that's how we get started. We welcome you and we talk about this important aspect of midwifery care. And then we talk about that interrelational space, that space between you and your people. Now, this training is really meant for people who want to work with birth trauma. So it's a prevention and treatment right away. And it's understanding the midwifery model of care, which has wonderful aspects of continuity and presence. But it also integrates the somatic trauma resolution approaches. I stand on the shoulders of, John and Anna Chitty and the somatic experiencing world and my own clinical experience, understanding how we feel in our bodies. So we give you the tools to understand that sensory aspect, the bottom-up somatic approach. So module 1 is really about the welcome, the gracious space, really how we receive families. And then we teach some aspects of the baby's experience. And in this module, you'll be doing preconception and conception exercises. And that really is understanding an invitation from the spirit into matter, the intentional space for someone to come in, which is a preconception space. And then what's what we want to introduce to our families. How do we do that in a good way? How do we help families create an intentional space for that new being coming in? And we give our students a chance to explore their own early dynamic there, as well as conception. Like, how was it? Was somebody waiting for them? That's one of the inquiries that we have. And we presence the work of John Chitty, where we know that we are spirit coming, from this place. We all come from there. And we come here to have experiences on planet Earth. And he's building on the work of Randolph Stone, as do I, that the purpose of life on planet Earth is fulfillment of consciousness. So we work with that and help you really understand, who are you really? This is one of our inquiries. And we work with the beautiful work of the Chittys, but also Vonderwall, and really understanding who we are. We give you information about the egg and sperm journeys and just some of the epigenetics. And then we just invite you to really wonder about your own early period. And then our day 2 is really focusing on what we call ghosts, echoes, and angels. So Lois, I'm wondering if you take a moment just to talk about what you bring to understanding those ideas.
Ghosts are a really important concept, and the first time I ever encountered it was about 17 years ago, when a couple came to see me for an appointment early in their pregnancy. And the mother-to-be said that she was very concerned about this pregnancy because her own mother had preeclampsia, so she'd had very high blood pressure and other complications. And after she'd given birth to her daughter, who was there with me, with her husband, she went into a coma for 10 days. And that made a huge impression, obviously, on her daughter and on the whole family. And it was a traumatic event that worried this young woman when she came being early pregnant. Could this happen to me? How likely would it be? What could we do? So we began planning for that, talking about it, and then looking at what kinds of testing could we do? How could we make sure that her diet was healthy? Exercise, what we'd be doing during the pregnancy to help make sure that things were coming along normally. Her childbirth preparation took this into account. And so, and then she had continuity, because it so happened that I, who knew about her situation, was the midwife who was able to support her and her husband in her labor. So when their son was born nice and healthy and her blood pressure had been fine, it was a very joyful time, and a completion of a journey for them that felt whole and respectful. And I talked with her a few years ago, and she said to me that she had found out that her grandmother, her mother's mother, had actually had a brain aneurysm when she was in her maybe 50s or so, and then she had passed away from that. So there was, speaking of the ghost, this was an ancestral history lingering in the family and potentially having major implications for their maternity care. And so it was wonderful to be able to ask about the stories, hear the stories, and then figure out how we would work with this to prevent it from happening again.
And I take it from a somatic trauma prevention and treatment approach. And working with these maternity ghosts, we can help people get an understanding of their state in their body that comes from all these things that come from the ancestors. Sometimes we don't even know what they are.
Mhm.
And as practitioner over time, you get to understand when you're feeling into, oh, there's something more here, not just your fear. There's extra fear here. Where does it come from? And sometimes it comes from what we call echoes. That comes from John Chitty. He called our childhood traumas and developmental, stresses, echoes. And he would say, well, that's an echo of your childhood. And we know that those do come across in our lifetime, they repercuss. And in birth, trauma in particular, vulnerabilities, times when we didn't feel like we had enough support, or when we were powered over, especially as children, those memories can come up. And so we're tracking that. We teach about that in Module 1. We also teach about double binds. We start here with the bind, because often in double bind work, we know that it always has a foothold or a toe or a root, back into the history, back into our ancestors. When we reach a point where there's constantly a spin or a story or something that's impacting and not allowing there to this feeling of flow and coherency in what's happening in the now. So I teach about differentiation, understanding that challenging history, what happens in your body when you do that. And then we also teach about what we borrow from Meryl Smith, who's a Cherokee midwife and an amazing human who's allowed us to use her trauma-sensitive framework. And that, there are 6 categories there, and we teach here the feeling state. As a body worker, as a trauma resolution professional in the space, what we want is for you to begin to track these things. Someone's going to come in, they're not going to be able to name all their traumas or even have an idea of what happened in the ancestors. But we're training practitioners to know, to see it, feel it, understand it, and then be able to ask sensitive questions so that they can provide, just like Lois's story, a really clear and good environment for you. And when you're a professional, you'll want to be able to really hold the whole here. And this is the beginning of it all. Um, and then on our 3rd day, since these are really 3-day modules, they're not very long. We did that on purpose so that people could feel this is a doable program. In fact, Lois said, please make it 3 days and have there be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, so that Sunday people can be with their families. This was the request of Lois. So, but on our 3rd day, we talk about the blueprint and the imprint, which is a category of understanding our body's responses to life, from Anna Chitty. And I have developed maps of understanding what are blueprints, what are imprints, how do they show up in this very important developmental time, a time of human, for all humans, where we are conceived, carried, born, and then there's the afterbirth. So I teach a little bit about the blueprint and the imprint, and we really help our students get, well, the blueprint is always there. You just have to begin to feel it in yourself and then see it in your clients. So I teach that, and I teach the basic, I call it, you're shifting a state. John Chitty was all about that. He said state change is the name of the game, and that's what we practice. So I have maps for that, skills for that, and then we end our time together by talking about our practice as safe haven. Lois, would you like to talk a little bit more about what you bring, the midwifery aspect, and safe haven?
Yes, as midwives, things that are foundational for us are that we strongly affirm in pregnancy and labor and birthing and afterwards as a healthy, normal process for the majority of people. And so that's our grounding philosophy. And I think it's important to have one, because then provides the framework for us, and that's our guiding. That's what guides us. And at the same time, part of our training and our education, our experience is to know what can happen if there is a variation off of the straightforward. And some of those can be quite serious. And so we need to know what they are and how to anticipate them, hopefully how to prevent them, and then what to do if they occur. So it's a combination of safe haven, meaning that the words for midwife in the original word from the German meant with. And in France, where I went to midwifery school, a midwife is called the wise woman. And in other cultures, that's often true too. So that combination of with, meaning keeping company and listening deeply and with a lot of respect, and then wise, knowing, having training, understanding how to provide guidance to support families in what their wishes are, and at the same time have safety and health and positive outcome. That's safe haven for us.
And we combine that with the study of attachment and attachment styles. And I teach the 4 attachment styles: secure and the 2 insecure, so avoidant and ambitious, and the ambivalent, anxious, and the disorganized styles. And we play a bit of a game where you guess which one it is based on a story I tell you. But we do end with this idea of safe haven, which is part of the circle of security and understanding that our practice is a safe haven for our families, and that our training is a safe haven for you. So that's our module 1. We want to invite you to come. We have foundation courses all year in this 2023 year, and come study, learn, heal is what we say. And we'll be back again to talk about module 2.
See you again, I hope. Thank you.